Hi there, this is Teacher Harry and welcome back to my English lessons where I try to help you to get a better understanding of the English language so that you can communicate with your friends, your colleagues, perhaps even get through those first few stages of job interviews. What are we going to talk to you about today? What's the lesson about? Well, this is all about job idioms, or you can also refer to it as idioms connected with work. I'll give you some examples. So the first one is to learn the ropes. Well, learn the ropes, this comes from a sailing or nautical type of reference because ropes are something we use when people are sailing. I don't sail, but when people sail on yachts and boats, they have to tie up the boat in a certain way. They have to pull certain ropes to get the sails to move. So to learn the ropes is when you're trying to learn how to sail. So we use this now in a reference to job and work. So when we're learning the ropes, we are learning the job for the first time. So you go in perhaps for an early induction course or some type of training where they teach you what you have to know, and then that way they hope that after a few weeks or months you will have learned the ropes and you'll know what to do on your own. So somebody would have a conversation, he'll be fine, just give him a few weeks to learn the ropes and then he'll be as good as anybody else. He's got a bright future here. So to learn the ropes, to understand what you have to do, to understand the business, and then when you're off on your own, you can get out there and show them what you can do. So to learn the ropes. Next is to carry the can. Okay, carry the can. A can can be a can of petrol. So we have something that we put water into or petrol or something else and we fill it up and it can be quite heavy. So we call it a can of petrol, can of water. So to carry the can, okay, so the can in this way is the noun, not can as a modal verb. The can that you put, as I said, water and petrol into. So when somebody has to carry the can, it means that somebody has to take the blame for something that goes wrong. Normally it's the boss, but it might not always be. So if something happens in the office, something goes wrong with an order, we lose a client or a customer, whatever that might be, somebody will say, well, somebody's going to have to carry the can for this mistake. So who is going to take responsibility? So carrying the can is taking responsibility for a mistake, taking the responsibility for something that's gone wrong. So he or she will have to carry the can. And somebody might complain, I always have to carry the can. Why can't somebody else make these key decisions? Why can't somebody else step in instead of me? Well, that's what you get paid for. You're the boss. You have to carry the can. Next is to burn the candle at both ends. Normally, if you want to light a candle, whether it's a candle on your birthday cake or it's a candle to read by or a candle for decoration, you light it with a cigarette lighter or a match. You light it at the top. Okay, so you're burning it at one end and the candle will generally lower. Okay, but if we lit the candle at both ends, it would burn into the middle. So when we use the expression to burn the candle at both ends, what it really means is somebody is working hard during the day and playing hard at nighttime. So guy gets up at 6 o'clock, has his breakfast, goes to work, gets there for 8 o'clock, works hard until 6 o'clock, comes home, has a little bite to eat, goes out on the town with his friends, parties, is a real party animal for several days of the week, and by the end of the week he's completely exhausted. And his mother or father said, well, what do you expect? You're burning the candle at both ends, meaning you're working hard, but you're also playing hard. So something will give, something will happen. Either your work will start to deteriorate and that will be a problem, or you'll get totally exhausted and you'll get ill. So be really careful. You shouldn't burn the candle at both ends. Go out at the weekends, but keep Monday to Friday free so that you just focus on your job. Don't burn the candle at both ends. Okay, so burning the candle at both ends, playing hard, partying hard. Okay. The next expression is a real British English expression, a cushy number. Cushy is a very, very slang word to mean easy, okay? Okay, so if somebody says to you, so it's a cushy number, it means it's an easy number. It means it's a relatively easy job. Okay, so somebody has a cushy number who doesn't have to start work until 10 a.m. and he leaves work at 5 o'clock, or perhaps he gets a review every 3 months and he's getting bonuses and increases in his salary on a regular basis, but doesn't seem to be doing a lot of work. Or perhaps he goes off on lots of interesting trips and the hotel expenses are paid by his company. Whatever it might be, his friends say, "Ha, Harry, well, he has a real cushy number, that guy. Have you seen what he does? Or in fact, what he doesn't do, and he still gets paid, and he gets paid more than we do. So he's on a cushy number. It's a real cushy number, meaning it's a real easy job." And as I said, it's very British English, not something you're likely to hear in an American movie. But if you're watching BBC or some BBC productions or British-made movies, then you're likely to hear that reference to, oh, it's a cushy number. Next expression, an idiom, is hanging by a thread. Well, a thread is a little piece of material or a little piece of something you stitch the seam on your jumper. Okay, I haven't got one here, thankfully. Oh, I have actually, I found one. So this little thing here, if you can see it, that is a thread, a little tiny little thing, the blue thing here, that is a thread. So when something is hanging by a thread, it means it's about to break off, yeah? Okay, because this thread here isn't very strong, and if I pull it, it will break. Okay, so when something is hanging by a thread, it means it's likely to break. So if your job is hanging by a thread, it might mean you're on a little bit of thin ice where, you're probably had a warning from your boss. If you don't improve your work, I'm going to have to fire you, or we're going to have to let you go. Or if you don't improve your work, we're going to have to move you to another department and you'll lose all your benefits. Okay, so your future or the future in that company is hanging by a thread. Okay, now it could also be relating to an account. You're trying to get a big account and the decision is hanging by a thread. You're not sure whether you've done enough to attract the customer. You're not sure whether you've done enough to make it attractive enough for them to come to your company. So it's all hanging by a thread. It could go either way. Yeah, so 50-50. It might come our way, it might not. It's hanging by a thread. So hanging by a thread, some really little small thing that connects you, and if it breaks, well, that's it. That's the end of the story, hanging by a thread. The next two I'm going to take together: to get the sack and to get the boot. Okay, so these are both references to losing your job. And again, they're very informal ways to refer to it. Okay, so the more formal ways are lose your job, or to be made redundant. Okay, so they are much more formal ways. But when we talk about getting the sack or getting the boot, it means that the job is gone. Okay, so if the company has to downsize because things are not going so well, then somebody is going to get the sack or somebody's going to get the boot. Or if your performance hasn't been up to scratch, you haven't done as well as they thought you would, or you don't meet the requirements anymore, well then yes, you could get the sack or get the boot. Okay, so when you hear references to getting the sack, it's not good news, yeah? So, we had a terrible time last year, those accounts that we lost, somebody's going to have to pay for that, somebody will get the sack. I hope it's not me that gets the boot. I can't afford to do without my job. I've got a wife and family to support, so I hope it's nobody, but at worst, I hope it's not me. Okay, so to get the sack, to get the boot, to lose the job. You can also refer to getting fired, which is another way to say it. So, often people get fired, and people get fired all the time, whether it's because of something they've done or because of just downsizing, as we referred to before. But they're all references to job losses. Get fired, get the sack, get the boot. And you can even give somebody the elbow, which is another way to refer to it. The elbow is the pointed part of your arm, and when you give somebody the elbow, you push them out the way, or you push them out of the company. Okay, so I got the elbow last week, I'm going to have to look for another job. I didn't like it anyway, but it's never nice when it happens. So get the elbow, get the sack, get the boot, or get fired. The next job idiom I have is off the hook, to be off the hook. The hook is a thing that you might put behind the door to put your coat on, or it might be the hook that you have in the kitchen to hang your mug or your cups on. Okay, so it's a hook and you put it on there. So when you're off the hook, it means that you're no longer attached to it, okay? So if there's a problem in work and they're looking around to see what happened, they're investigating the files, they're looking at the emails, who took the call, who was the last one in touch with the client. So in some way, they're trying to find out who is responsible for whatever happened. And they check your emails and they check everything and say, well, look, you're off the hook, meaning it's not your responsibility. So when you're off the hook, you're no longer responsible for something, okay? Now, you can be on the hook for something, so the boss comes around and he's looking for somebody to work overtime on Thursday, Friday, and probably Saturday, and you say, oh, God, here we go again. I only did it last month. Why is it always me? And then on the Thursday morning, the boss comes to you and says, oh, good news, you're off the hook for this weekend. I've got somebody else to do it, so I don't need you on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thanks a lot, but we'll get you again when we need to do it. Okay, so you were initially on the hook because they had identified you as the person to do the work, and then the boss comes and tells you, well, I found somebody else, so don't worry, you're off the hook, meaning you're free to do what you want. So when you're off the hook, you're free. Just think of it as if you would go fishing, okay? And so when you put your fishing rod into the water, and if the fish takes the bait, it's on the hook and you've got it, and then you bring it in and you catch the fish, okay? But if the fish gets the food and escapes, he's off the hook, okay? He's gone, so you can't catch him, okay? So if you compare that to the example I've given, then you should be able to understand the expression off the hook. Next idiom is to go with the flow. This is a very popular expression at the moment, to go with the flow. Now, the flow is the way the airstream is going, or the way the water in the river is going, okay? So you don't want to swim against the flow of the water in the river because it's very tiring. But when you go with the flow, it makes it much, much easier, okay? So when somebody from a job point of view tells you just to go with the flow, it means just accept the way things are. Life will be a lot easier. So if you're always arguing with the boss, why me? Why do I have to do this? Why is it always me? Then you're always fighting, and everybody gets perhaps a bad impression of you, and it makes life a little bit difficult. But if you just go with the flow and the boss says, well, can you work a little later tonight? Ah, sure, no problem. At least you get paid for it. And will you mind staying for a little bit longer during your lunch hour, or can you change your lunch hour? Just go with the flow. Go with what the boss wants. It will make life a lot easier, okay? Or if the customer is looking for something to be changed, there's no point arguing with him because the customer is always right, okay? So if we go with the flow, accept what the customer says, okay, I'll check it out, I'll come back to you and make sure it doesn't happen again. All the nice soft words, go with the flow so that the customer feels at ease. So when we go with the flow, life becomes a whole lot easier. Okay, so it's the same in any part of life, whether it's in family life, in school life, but here when we're talking about work, to go with the flow is to do what other people do. Okay, just follow them. If they take their lunch and only have 30 minutes or 40 minutes, then perhaps you need to do that as well. If they're not late in the mornings, then that's what you should do as well. So you go with the flow, you follow other people, and then life becomes a lot easier. Okay, go with the flow. Our next idiom is a tall order. Tall being the height, yeah? So when something is a tall order, it means you're not quite sure whether it's true or whether it's achievable, okay? So if somebody comes and asks you for what you think is the impossible, and you say, well, that's a tall order. How am I supposed to do it in that time? So, the boss, again, might say, well, look, we've got a deadline to complete this order by Wednesday of next week. And, today's already Friday, so, Saturday and Sunday are out. So really, you're going to have to get the work done on Monday and Tuesday so we can guarantee to get it out the door and get it delivered to the client by close of business on Wednesday. And you look at your colleagues and they look at you and you think, well, it's going to take us forever to do that. I mean, that's a real tall order. I mean, so many pallets, so many boxes. I mean, do we even have that in stock? Something that's probably not achievable. Okay? It's a bit like trying to climb Mount Everest. It's a real tall order because you look at it and think, well, how many people actually achieve that? So a tall order from a work perspective is something that is a little bit further away than you thought, a little bit out of your grasp, and something that's not quite achievable. Perhaps you'll do it, but it's a tall order. And next we have the expression up to the mark. And somebody might ask the question, is he or is she really up to the mark? And a mark can be literally a pencil line, or a mark can be the barrier you've set, or the bar that you've set to measure people against. What is the performance of that individual or those individuals? Yeah, are they really up to the mark? Means, can they come up to our expectations? Okay, so asking the question, is he or is she up to the mark? Are they up to the standards that we have set? Are these the right people for the job? So often there's a reason why people have to go through a probationary period. So they have a period of 3 months or 6 months or whatever the probationary period happens to be, where they join the company, and within that period of probation, the boss can decide, well, no, they're not up to the mark. They're not going to make the cut. Let's just cut our losses here and we'll find somebody else. Or alternatively, hopefully, and you prove to be up to the mark, up to the job that you've been hired to do, then once you get through to the end of the probationary period, your job becomes permanent, and then it's much more difficult for employers to give you the boot or to give you the sack. Yeah. Okay. So to be up to the mark is to make sure that you go either up to it or beyond it, to show the bosses that you can achieve what they want, you can get to that level, you do have the skill levels to do the work. So to be up to the mark. I'm really up to the mark, yeah? So they asked me lots of questions. They asked me how to do this. I was able to answer them. They asked me how I would solve that problem. I was able to answer them. So yeah, I think I am up to the mark. Okay? And finally, in this particular idiom about jobs, we're talking about the rat race. And this is a very, very well used idiom. And I think many and most people that will be watching and listening will have heard of the rat race. So the rat race literally is rats put in a tube, and they're encouraged with a bit of smell of food or a little bit of food to run through the tube, and people bet money to see which rat is going to win first. Yeah. Okay. And rats keep running and running and running. But we refer to the rat race as this eternal push to try and get better and better and faster and faster. So when we're talking to our friends, we're all in this rat race, means we're all running and running. We're just running to keep up. Yeah. So it's like on a treadmill, it goes round and round and round. And if you stop, you're going to fall off. Okay. So when you're in the rat race, you have to keep running, even if you don't want to. Okay. So the whole issue about technology is making our lives move faster. We've got our mobile phones, we've got our laptops, we've got our WhatsApp, we have every application you could possibly think of. And what does it do? Of course, makes our life a little bit easier in terms of contacting people, but people know where you are all the time, and your bosses know, your colleagues know. So you're forever in this rat race. I have to do better. I have to get promoted. I have to get a salary increase. I have to take the boss's job. I have to find another job, and so on and so forth. So when you're part of the rat race, you don't really notice it. When you step out or off and you look at everybody else going 100 miles an hour, then you really look at this and think it really is a rat race, and it's not so enjoyable. Okay, so the rat race is what we're in, our daily slog of getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning, dragging ourselves to the office, getting through that working day, waiting and praying and hoping for the weekend to come around very, very quickly. And then, it all starts again on Sunday evening. Okay, so we are all part of the rat race, or we have all been part of the rat race at some time in our lives. And it's one of those eternal treadmills going round and round and round. So welcome to the rat race. Okay, well, that's the idioms about jobs. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope my examples explain exactly what we're talking about. As I said before, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, and you'll always get to listen to me on the podcast. And if you want to contact me, well, you can do so on www.englishlessonviaskype.com. Really happy to hear from you. Really happy for you to give me some suggestions that I can include where you're having some problems, and it'll help you, help your friends, and help all the people out there. Okay, well, this is Teacher Harry, and join me again soon.